welcome to another edition of In Focus brought to you by the UONGOZI Institute. My name is Gwamaka Kifukwe. On tonight's program, we'll be looking at the Big Results Now initiative, which is a new initiative launched by the government of Tanzania. We'll be joined by the CEO of the President's Delivery Bureau, which is in charge of implementing this initiative. He is formerly the head of CELTEL here in Africa, and also was in charge of the Investment Climate Facility. Mr. Omari Issa, welcome to the program. I just want to start us off by having you give us a summary about what it is that the Big Results Now initiative is really about.
Thank you very much for inviting me to this program. The initiative came about following a recognition by senior government officials, in particular the President and ministers, that the development plan that has been adopted over the years. We've got the 2025 development plan, the vision for 2025 period, and the key objective is actually to move Tanzania to a middle-income country by then. But these are plans, very good plans. However, the problem has been on implementation of the respective projects. The President saw what Malaysia has been able to do, was very impressed. Then a team from Tanzania went to Malaysia to look at what Malaysia had accomplished in 4 years, and felt that that would be a model that we could replicate in Tanzania. So the Big Results program, in a nutshell, is really an initiative to ensure that projects that are within the development plan, that projects that have been there for years, are implemented swiftly with full accountability. If I go back now to my early years as a young professional in this country in the 70s, and I give a typical example because people complain today about TANESCO. The pole next to my house caught fire at midnight. I called TANESCO. Within 30 minutes, TANESCO people were there, and at 1:30 in the morning, electricity was restored. So this is doable in Tanzania. I think the question we need to ask ourselves is, what happened? What happened? We lost the discipline. Accountability more or less disappeared. We moved, the pendulum swung so much towards talking and less on doing. Emphasis was on talking. And you go to private functions, and let me take the example of weddings. You go to a wedding, it's a function, people are supposed to enjoy themselves. But actually you spend the first 3 hours listening to speeches. By the time the speeches are over, people are tired, they leave. And they were supposed to be there, happy, dancing, celebrate. The celebrations start when people are already tired. So you go to every event, it's almost the same. We have changed. The discipline is not there. And the discipline to implement projects isn't there. But I think more importantly is the fact that we don't have the skill sets required to implement projects. I have said this over a number of years. At ICF, for a period of 6 years, we trained people across the continent on keeping keeping accounts properly, following on project implementation, reporting on a regular basis, and there were successes across the continent. But we recognized early on that we needed to build the skill sets, and we worked with the respective countries to do that. And I think within the BRN, one of the things that will need to be done will certainly be to build capacity in project implementation.
But I mean, this idea of monitoring and following up on indicators and data and so forth, this is not new. So what makes the BRN different then from, say, other initiatives, or how does it fit in with these other initiatives?
For the first time, we have these indicators communicated to the public at large. The ministers have signed contracts in public with the president. This has been communicated. The performance indicators are communicated. They are on websites. You go to the President's Office Planning Commission website, you will see that. You go to the Ikulu website. We don't have our own website at the moment, but once we do, we will also put those key performance indicators there. And on an ongoing basis, we will inform the public as to what has been accomplished and what has not been accomplished. And there is a scorecard. The minister will be rated on an ongoing basis. The ministries will be rated on an ongoing basis. The public will know quite openly. And we've requested the public through open day events to actually tell us if the ministry or the minister reports that water has been provided to a particular village. We want the people living in that village to actually confirm. So we'll just not take the report per se. We will verify ourselves and we will require the public to actually notify us that yes, water is now available in that particular location.
So it's more of a kind of continuous and very current information exchange rather than, say, waiting once or twice a year for Parliament to do something similar. Is that?
Absolutely. We are receiving weekly reports from the ministries, the 6 ministries that were selected. They tell us exactly where they stand with the implementation of their respective projects. And then on a monthly basis, each ministry has a steering committee meeting. And within that steering committee, all the key stakeholders are there. If you take energy, for example, TANESCO is represented at the highest level, REA is represented, TPDC, private investors, and so on. So on a monthly basis, each of those ministries has this meeting, and they go through issues that they have faced during the month. And then after we've had these meetings with each and every ministry, we have a meeting that is chaired by the president. So we inform the president and the vice president and the prime minister, who will be there, that this is what has been achieved, this has not been achieved for the following reasons. It hasn't been done in this country. It has never happened. This is the first time. So my plea to the public is that give it a chance. Don't just complain. Be part of it as opposed to be against it.
Okay. But I mean, in terms of, because as you said, we've moved from this discipline of implementation to a lot of talking. It sounds a lot, there's a lot of reporting mechanisms, and this has been one of the complaints about the sort of corporate governance within the public sector. Is this not adding an extra layer of paperwork or of discussion internally, even though it's being shared, but is this not more now demands on the time of those particular people responsible for executing within those ministries?
No, they were supposed to do it anyway. They didn't do it. That's the point. They were supposed to do it, but they were not doing it. And that's why I say, what happened? Because the follow-up wasn't there. The follow-up wasn't there. Now there is, this week we've had meetings with each and every ministry. And I can tell you, for example, in one district, which I will not mention, the data was there to inform the Prime Minister who was visiting to say, look, this particular school is complaining that they have not received the money. Now, previously, it would have just been a question of letters. Why is the money not here? Why, what did the Treasury do or not do, and so on. But because of the follow-up, we were able to identify exactly where the money was stuck. The money was stuck in the district. It had already been sent to the district, but had not reached the school. The individual responsible is now accountable, something that wasn't there before. So we do this with each and every project that is within the BRN. For PDB, our primary role is really not that of a policeman to say, you haven't delivered. Our role is to say, you are facing obstacles. How can we help you deliver? So if the issue is within another ministry, we bring the other ministry to the table and say, look, we are stuck because of the following. Maybe the permit has not been issued. Maybe the environmental impact assessment has not been done. Maybe, can you facilitate? And that's a bigger role for us than that of a policeman. But we are seen as the policeman, chasing the ministers. No, we actually helping not just the government but also the private sector. There are a number of investors, local and foreign, who have approached us with projects that were stuck for several years, and we are unblocking. And things are beginning to happen. But I think the expectations are extremely high. One of the key areas of in implementing projects is the procurement process. The procurement process is very long, it's very cumbersome, everybody is complaining. Now, in the Ministry of Water, that process has been reduced from 265 days to 90 days. 90 days is still long, but compared to 265 days is a major achievement, within 3 months. And we will work hard to reduce that even further. So we are beginning to see results. But
in terms of now implementing the BRN, what are the kind of institutional arrangements that are guiding this process? I mean, how are you situated? What is it that you're not in a sense allowed to do, but what are these kind of arrangements that you have?
Okay. If we didn't adopt the philosophy of big results now, we would have spent maybe 6 months, maybe a year, just setting up the institutional arrangements. But we said, no, we are going to run. And therefore, as we set up the institutions, we have to also be implementing the projects. We're not going to wait. So, for example, at PDB, there are only 2 staff who have been appointed out of between 50 and 60. What we have done as an interim arrangement is to get individuals from both the public and the private sector on a secondment basis to allow us to kickstart the program. The same in ministries. You have interim delivery units. We've started the recruitment process. It will take a few months. But we said we are not going to wait until we've hired the people. We're going to start, and we will find the individuals who are willing and can do it. And that is what is happening. But I like the concept of big results now, the word now, because I remember when I was at ICF, I used to talk about the now generation, not the new generation, but the now generation.
This expectation,
you have the young people, they know that with today's technology, they know that in a neighboring country, they know that if you go elsewhere, you can do these things now. So why wait until tomorrow? Why wait until a few months later? They expect things to be done now. My plea to them is that they should do the things now.
And push the government.
Exactly. They should not be waiting for somebody else to do it. So they should be part of the process to do things now.
But you had identified earlier that there were 6 sectors that have been targeted for this initiative, which I understand are energy and natural gas, water, agriculture, education, resource mobilization, and transport is the other one. Why 6, and then, why these 6 in particular, I suppose?
You look at your resources, not just financial, but human resources. I talked earlier about the lack of skill sets. Everything is a priority. Everything is a priority here because things have not worked for the last several years. It's not only the last 7 or 8 years, nothing to do with whether awamu ya kwanza or ya pili or ya tatu. It's really on a consistent basis. things have deteriorated in terms of project implementation, the discipline, the skill sets, as I was talking earlier. So now we want to bring in the sense of urgency, but we can't do everything together. We will collapse. So we said, let's do a few things first. So even within agriculture, we are saying, let's agree on priorities within agriculture. So it's not just
the whole sector.
The whole sector. Within education, what are the priorities? Within energy, what are the priorities? And we went through a process which was very transparent that the President explained to the nation on May 24th, I believe. We went through this process, and health, for example, missed out by point something, a decimal point, otherwise would have been part of this. Should be there. You can argue, trade should be there. You can argue so many other sectors should be. But we agreed on 6. If I had my way, I would have said, let's start with 2 or 3 to build the capacity, the institutional arrangement that you're talking about, and then move much faster thereafter. But 3 was considered to be too few.
Not ambitious
yes,
enough.
And 9 was maybe too much, so a compromise was on 6. But again, the fact that we're saying now we need to bring in the sense of urgency. People need to move quickly. We're beginning to see that other ministries that are not within this program are taking similar initiatives. They're saying we're not going to wait until we are part.
Turn, yeah.
But regions also, we had a meeting with all the regional commissioners in Dodoma in September, and they have started to build up regional delivery units. Yesterday I got a call from one of the regions in the south saying, look, we can't wait, can you come and help us? And I take this as a very positive response, because the leaders and the public are saying, we can't wait, let's get things done. And really, I'm encouraged. Personally, I am extremely encouraged, because Tanzanians are saying, we are tired of business as usual, we want business unusual, and we want to deliver. And as I said earlier, I would like the public to really be more supportive and less skeptical.
Okay. No, but just to come back to this issue about these areas that haven't been identified as part of the 6, so non-priority areas, if you like. What is their relationship other than being able to watch and maybe mimic? And is there scope for them to be moved in? Like, will this be reviewed, these 6, or are these the 6 for?
So the process was, we went through a process to identify the top priority areas. And it was agreed, there was a consensus to have the 6. So we are now implementing projects in those 6 priority areas. Within this fiscal year, which means before June of 2014, we will go through a similar process to identify other priority areas. So we hope that during 2014, I think expectations is that health, which missed out by a decimal point, will be part and parcel, and other ministries as well. But clearly, we need to go through a very transparent process and identify the next sets of priority areas. But as I said before, everything is a priority. Everything is a priority.
But also in terms of coming back to this question about the institutional arrangements and implementation, there's a question also of funding. I mean, does the BRN affect the funding of, say, these non-priority areas for the moment? I mean, where are you getting the funds to implement all these initiatives and to unclog the
my focus and my role and my mandate is on projects that are within the BRN. However, I recognize that there are other areas that need to begin to do things a la BRN. So I've had consultations with other ministries. I'm talking to regional commissioners, regional administrative secretaries, to help them set up similar arrangements. We've shared with all the regional commissioners the setup that we have for PDB and the ministerial delivery units, and therefore we will help them to set up these arrangements well before they join the BRIN program.
But it's not like the budgets are going to be touched. There's not like a certain percentage of, say, the health budget or the industry's budget or whatever ministry will be shifted into the BRN. There's nothing like that that's happening, or?
No, I think, we come back, for example, I said agriculture. There are projects within BRN, but there are also projects that are outside BRN.
Okay. So it's already within...
So within the budget, and those projects will be implemented as well. It's not that they will stop.
Yeah.
No, exactly what I try to explain, but maybe repeat, is that we have 6 priority areas, but within each priority area,
they're then sub-priorities.
There are priorities.
Okay. And I mean, now that you've been in this role as the CEO for a few months as well, what are sort of the challenges that you've faced already, and what other challenges are you maybe anticipating as BRN is implemented further?
Well, I have said, I think consistently, my number one challenge is actually not to deliver. My number one challenge is to manage expectations. The expectations are so high. People expect delivery immediately because they are tired of the status quo. They want change. You feel it. But then we have to be realistic. There are only 24 hours in a day. We can't work for more than 24 hours in a day. And we have to be realistic. But we have to devote resources and energy on delivery. So I have four principles. I say, number one, be on time. If you can't be on time, you will never deliver a project on time. Sure. So that's principle number one. Number two, no speech. Number three, just do it. And number four, no exception. Be on time, don't talk, do it. And don't introduce exceptions. This, we'll make an exception here, we'll make an exception there. And I can tell you, when we started in June, many of the meetings started late. This week, most of the meetings started on time. So the attitude, the behavior is beginning to change, and people, you go into a meeting and say, let's just do this in 1 hour and go and get things done. So gradually we will get that to change. When we met with the regional commissioners, they were making presentation to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister said, this is a working session. So let's do away with all the formalities, the protocol. Omari, start. That was it. And each regional commissioner was given 10 to 15 minutes to make a presentation. And they did it. They did it very, very well, and was straight. These are the projects we have in the region. This is what we have done. These are the issues we are facing. Can we get a resolution on the following issues? Focus on the issues, resolve the issues, and move on.
Like what I'm getting a sense from you is that this kind of business unusual approach, this sort of change in workplace culture or governance or mindset, if you will, where can people draw these kinds of lessons? I mean, should we be looking to the international community, to the private sector, to NGOs, to other parts of the public sector? Like where are these approaches coming from, and how do people know that they will work? Because the public sector is the way it is.
We want to have the skill sets. And that is why I say that's really paramount. That is a top priority. We are going to recruit. We have very detailed job descriptions. We want people who will be able to analyze the situations. It's not just telling me, look, this has been delivered, but I want to know, when was it delivered? How was it delivered? At what cost was it delivered? What are the issues that we faced? What are the lessons that we can learn in delivering, at the next village or in the next town? very analytical. What's the trend? Is the cost going down? Is the time going up? And so on. So we want people who will be much more inquisitive, people who will try to solve problems as opposed to coming and tell you, I have a problem. You say, tell me.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, we have a problem. How are you going to solve it? I want people who will go beyond telling me there is a problem. I want people who will say, here is a problem, we would like to solve it as follows. That is what we want to do. We want to have those people. We want to build the capacity, not at PDB, not only in the ministries, but to go to the regions and districts. We have already begun to assess the capacities at the local level, because if we don't have the capacities there, this will be a program that will disappear once PDB is closed, and PDB is meant to be there only as an interim. Eventually, we want the ministries and the local government to have the capacities, and that is what will ensure sustainability. If we are able to develop capacity at the local level, then this will be sustainable. If we change the mindset of the average person, the person in government who says, look, I'm here to deliver, and they deliver, and that reverberates all the way down to the local authorities, then it will be sustainable. But we also want to go into educational institutions. We'll be talking to universities, secondary schools, and primary schools to begin to instill the discipline that this is what needs to be done.
Sure. But I mean, we're coming to an end of the time that we have, but just before we close the program, is there anything else that you think the public or the audience at large should know about the Big Results Now initiative?
Well, I encourage everybody to really be asking himself or herself the question, what can I do? Not what the government can do, but what can I do? And within the team, and even when we had the regional commissioner, regional administrative secretaries, I said, you know, everybody should be asking the question, am I pushing or am I being pushed? Be honest with yourself. Am I taking initiatives or initiatives being taken by somebody else? And am I contributing or is somebody else making a contribution? You should really move away from the mindset that the government is going to do this. Who is the government? Who makes up the government? The population itself has to move. Individuals have to say, look, this is going to be my contribution. I am going to do this. You know, I don't want to speak about myself, but I've worked for ICF. ICF wanted me to stay. I decided not to. I wanted to have a quiet time, and I was called to do this job. I'm earning much less than what I was earning or what I could be earning. It's you know, a huge responsibility. It requires a lot of time. But I said, look, if I'm asking people to make contributions, I should set an example. I should make a contribution. That's what I'm doing.
Well, again, thank you very much for coming through the program. It's been a pleasure to have you, and it's been very informative. And welcome back anytime.
Thank you very much. We'll be more than happy to use this forum to communicate to the public. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you.
Asante sana.
So thank you again for joining us on this program, and we hope to see you again soon. Good night.